Marcus Hale liked quiet places. On New Dawn Orbital Station, that was not easy to find. The station floated above the bright blue curve of Tenera, a trade hub where ships from 100 worlds came and went every day. The main corridors were always full of merchants selling strange fruit, engineers arguing over parts, and travelers rushing to catch their next shuttle. Marcus worked in the lower maintenance decks. He liked machines more than people. Machines didn't talk too much, didn't argue, and didn't give strange looks when you stayed silent. Today, he was checking a row of service rails along the outer cargo platforms. It was a simple job. Walk the rail, check the power cells, tighten the bolts, move on. The outer cargo platforms were open to space, with only thin energy shields to keep out debris. Most people never came this far out. It was quiet here. The only sounds were the hum of the shields and the soft crackle of Marcus's boots on the magnetic walkway. He had just finished tightening the last bolt when he noticed movement at the far end of the platform. At first, he thought it was a drifting cargo crate. Small ones sometimes came loose before the loading bots could grab them. But then it moved in a way no crate should. It turned slowly, like something alive. The small figure wobbled as if trying to stand upright. Marcus frowned and walked closer. As he got nearer, his eyes widened. It wasn't a crate. It was a child. She was tiny, no taller than his waist, with pale silver skin that shimmered under the station lights. Her eyes were huge and bright, the color of polished steel. She wore a thin, flowing robe that looked far too delicate for the cold edge of the cargo bay. She was standing on a maintenance hatch, and the hatch was slowly sliding toward the outer edge of the platform, toward the unshielded gap. Marcus's voice was calm, but his chest tightened. "Hey," he called, keeping his steps slow. "You shouldn't be out here. It's dangerous." The girl tilted her head at him, curious, but didn't move. Marcus realized she might not understand standard trade language. He tried again, speaking slower and softer, and held out his hand. The hatch's magnetic lock gave a sharp click. The whole panel tilted. The girl stumbled, her little arms flailing. Marcus didn't think. He moved. He dropped his toolkit, ran across the walkway, and jumped over a service gap. His boots clanged on the hatch just as it slid free from its hinge. The panel tilted sharply, and the girl slipped. Marcus grabbed her arm before she could fall. She was lighter than he expected, almost weightless in the station's gravity control. She made a soft, surprised sound, then wrapped her arms around his neck. Marcus pulled her back onto the solid walkway and crouched down. She was trembling, though her silver eyes never left his face. He realized she wasn't scared of him. She was studying him, as if she had never seen a human before. "You're safe," he said gently. "It's okay." Her small hands clung to the front of his work jacket. She whispered something in a soft, musical voice he didn't understand. From somewhere above, a voice echoed through the platform speakers. It was the station's public alert system. "All crew, report to primary cargo bay. Missing person alert. Juvenile Iveri female, last seen near." The announcement cut off mid-sentence. Marcus blinked. Iveri. He had heard the name, but only in stories from long-haul traders. The Iveri were said to be secretive, rare visitors to human-run stations. Most people never met one in their life. And now, here was a little Iveri girl holding on to him like her life depended on it. He straightened slowly. "Let's get you somewhere safe," he murmured. She didn't resist as he carried her down the walkway. Her gaze wandered, watching. The cargo bots, the flicker of the energy shields, and the faint glow of the planet far below. She seemed calm now, but she still kept one small hand gripping his sleeve. When they reached the inner lock, Marcus stepped inside, letting the sliding doors close behind them. Warm air rushed in, replacing the chill of the outer deck. He knelt again, setting her gently on her feet. "Can you tell me your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then said something that sounded like Lear, though the word had a soft hum at the end, almost like a note in a song. "Lear," Marcus repeated. He smiled. "I'm Marcus." She tilted her head again, then mimicked softly, "Mar-cus." The way she said it made it sound almost like a new word she had just learned. Before Marcus could speak again, a shadow moved at the far end of the corridor. Two station security officers stepped forward. Their eyes locked on Lear immediately. One of them, a tall woman with a data pad, let out a breath of relief. "That's her," the officer said. "We've been searching everywhere," Marcus straightened. "I found her on the outer platform," he explained. "The hatch lock failed. She almost—" He stopped himself, not wanting to sound dramatic. The officer glanced between Marcus and Lear. Something in her expression shifted, a mix of surprise and respect. She tapped her data pad quickly, recording something. Lear didn't let go of Marcus's sleeve until the officer crouched and spoke to her in a flowing, melodic language. Only then did she step forward, though she gave Marcus one last, long look before leaving with the officers. As she disappeared around the corner, Marcus stood alone in the now quiet corridor. He picked up his drop toolkit and headed back toward the maintenance decks. He figured that was the end of it. But when he walked past the main market later that day, he noticed people watching him. Not just humans, traders from half a dozen species. Some gave small nods. Others whispered to each other. He caught fragments of words. The human touched the air. Unthinkable. Marcus frowned. He didn't know what they meant. He didn't know what the Iveri rules were. And he certainly didn't know that the quiet act of pulling a little girl to safety was about to change his life forever. The next morning, Marcus Hale walked through the main corridor of New Dawn Station with his repair kit slung over one shoulder. It should have been a normal work day, a few broken doors, a flickering light panel or two, and maybe a coffee break in between. But something felt different. People were staring at him. At first, Marcus thought he had grease on his face from last night's shift. He rubbed at his cheek. No, clean. Then he wondered if he had ripped his jacket somewhere. Still nothing. But the looks continued. Some were quick glances, others longer, as if trying to decide whether to speak to him or not. He walked past a small shop where a pair of traders from the Torvin species stood beside a counter of crystal vials. Their conversation stopped mid-sentence as he passed. One of them lowered his voice, but Marcus still caught the words human and Iveri child. He frowned. So the story was spreading. In the break room of the maintenance department, his coworker Rhea was waiting for him. She was short, fast-talking, and had a habit of knowing everything before anyone else did. "You're famous," she said before he could even sit down. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Famous for what?" Rhea leaned forward, her voice dropping. "For saving that little girl yesterday. You know who she is, right?" "Her name's Lear," Marcus said. "That's all I know." Rhea's eyes widened. "Marcus, Lear isn't just any Iveri child. She's the daughter of Serenia Talviri, their high envoy. That means she's important," Marcus finished. "I guess that much. But why are people looking at me like I broke some rule?" Rhea tapped her tablet, scrolling through a news feed. "Because humans aren't supposed to even touch Iveri children. Their culture is, well, private. Outsiders aren't usually allowed near their young at all. And you didn't just get near her, you carried her. In their traditions, that means something." Marcus leaned back. "I didn't have a choice. She was about to fall." "I'm not saying you did wrong," Rhea replied quickly. "In fact, some people think what you did is historic." Marcus shook his head. "Historic? I just pulled a kid off a hatch panel." "Yeah, well," Rhea said with a smirk, Sometimes history starts small. That afternoon, Marcus returned to the outer decks for a maintenance check. The work usually cleared his head. He liked the hum of the energy shields and the faint vibration under his boots. Out here, the busy chatter of the main corridors felt far away. But today, even here, he wasn't alone. Near the docking bay entrance, a group of aliens stood in a half-circle, whispering. Marcus recognized the robes of the Iveri among them, flowing garments of deep blue with silver threads that shimmered when they moved. One of them glanced his way, then leaned to speak to another. Marcus ignored it and focused on his work. He was checking a power cell when the hum of an approaching shuttle filled the air. The craft was small, polished to a mirror shine, and unlike any standard station vessel. As it landed, 2 Iveri in ceremonial sashes stepped out, their movements precise and graceful. One of them, taller than the other, walked toward Marcus. The alien's silver-flecked eyes fixed on him, and when he spoke, his voice was calm and formal. "Marcus Hale," the Iveri said in perfect standard. "You are requested to receive a message." Marcus straightened, unsure whether to salute or bow. He settled for standing still. "From who?" The Iveri reached into his sleeve and withdrew a small crystal rod. It glowed faintly in his hand. "From Serenia Talviri, High Envoy of the Iveri people." Marcus hesitated before taking it. The crystal warmed in his palm. A gentle vibration ran through it, and then a voice, clear and melodic, filled the air around him. "Marcus." "Hail," the voice said. "I know what you have done. I will come to you soon. When I do, you will hear my request." The message ended, the crystal's glow fading. Marcus stood in silence, unsure what to say. The Iveri envoy inclined his head. "She knows you saved her child. That is why she comes." Without another word, the envoy turned and rejoined his companion. The two walked back into their shuttle, which lifted off with a soft hum and vanished into the station's upper lanes. That evening, Marcus found the station quieter than usual. The market lights seemed dimmer, the crowds slower, but the whispers were still there. Every corner he turned, someone was watching him. A shopkeeper nodded at him as he passed. 2 dockhands actually stepped aside to let him through without a word. When he reached his quarters, a small envelope was stuck to his door. No name, no markings, just plain white. He opened it and found a single strip of thin metallic paper. Inside, a message was etched into it. "She will arrive at Dock 12. Be ready." Marcus stared at it for a long moment. The paper caught the light, throwing faint silver reflections onto the wall. Whoever sent it knew where and when this Serenia would come, and they clearly wanted him there. The next morning, the entire station buzzed with talk of an incoming diplomatic shuttle from the Iveri homeworld. Marcus overheard crew members speculating in the lift, in the food hall, even in the repair shop. Some said it was just a political visit. Others swore it had something to do with the human engineer and the air. Rhea found Marcus during his lunch break. "So," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Are you going?" "To Dock 12? "I don't even know if the note's real," Marcus said. "Oh, it's real," Rhea replied, grinning. "You've started something, Marcus. The question is, do you want to see where it goes?" Marcus didn't answer. He wasn't sure himself. That night, lying in his small cabin, Marcus stared at the ceiling. The hum of the station's life. Support was steady as always, but his thoughts weren't. What would the High Envoy of the Iveri want with him? To thank him? To warn him? To tell him never to come near her child again? And why had her message sounded personal? He didn't have answers. But he knew one thing. Whatever happened next, it would not be another quiet, ordinary day. Dock 12 had never looked so bright. Marcus Hale stood near the edge of the viewing rail, trying not to look out of place among the crowd that had gathered. Merchants, Station workers, and even a few off-duty officers had come to see the arrival of the Iveri shuttle. The docking bay lights glowed a soft blue, and a thin mist hung in the air from the temperature controls. The air felt charged, as if the station itself knew something important was about to happen. Marcus glanced at the note he had found on his door 2 nights ago. "She will arrive at Dock 12. Be ready." He still didn't know who had left it. But they had been right. The announcement had already played twice. The Iveri High Envoy's personal vessel was minutes away. Rhea had offered to come with him, but Marcus had refused. This meeting felt like something he needed to face alone. A soft hum filled the air as a white, pearl-like ship came into view. It was small but elegant, shaped like a drop of water frozen in motion. As it approached, silver lights along its hull shifted in graceful patterns. The docking clamps locked with a smooth click, and the boarding ramp extended. The crowd fell silent. 2 Iveri attendants walked down first, dressed in long silver and blue robes. Their movements were slow, deliberate, as though each step was part of a ceremony. Behind them came Serenia Talviri. Marcus had never seen anyone like her. She was tall and graceful, her robe flowing like liquid metal as she moved. Her silver hair shimmered under the docking lights, and a crest of polished crystal rested on her forehead. Her eyes, the same bright silver as her daughter's, scanned the crowd. When her gaze found Marcus, she walked toward him without hesitation. People stepped aside to make way. Marcus felt dozens of eyes on him as she stopped in front of him. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she lowered her head slightly. Not quite a bow, but something close. "Marcus Hale," she said in a calm, melodic voice. "You are the one who saved my daughter." Marcus nodded. "She was in danger. I just did what anyone would do." Serenia's eyes softened, but her tone stayed formal. "No, you did what few could. You crossed into the space of the Iveri air without fear. You placed yourself between her and harm. For that, I am here to give my gratitude." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "I don't need thanks. I just want to know she's safe." "She is," Serenia replied. "Because of you." For a moment, Marcus thought that was the end, that she would simply thank him and leave. But instead, she took a step closer and spoke in a lower voice. "I have a proposal for you." Marcus blinked. Proposal?" She nodded, her gaze steady. "I wish for you to marry me." The words seemed to hang in the air. Marcus almost laughed, thinking he had misheard, but Serenia's face was calm, serious, and without a hint of humor. He glanced around. The crowd was still there, silent and staring. A few whispers rippled through the onlookers. "I don't understand," Marcus said finally. "We've never even met before yesterday." "In your culture, that may seem unusual," Serenia said gently. "But in mine, this is an act of honor. You have shown rare courage. In Iveri tradition, saving the life of the heir binds you to her family. The highest way to seal that bond is through union." Marcus's mind raced. Union. Did she mean a political arrangement? A symbolic one? Or something more personal? Serenia seemed to read his confusion. "This is not only marriage as your people understand it," she explained. "It is the merging of families, of rights, of responsibility. You would gain a voice among my people, and they among yours." Marcus glanced toward the pearl-like ship, wondering if Lear was inside. "And this is your choice?" "It is the choice of my heart and my duty," Serenia said simply. The crowd began to murmur louder now. Marcus could hear bits of conversation. Historic, the human, first of its kind. Some faces looked amazed, others wary. Marcus looked back at Serenia. "This is a lot. I'm just an engineer. I don't know anything about diplomacy or..." ruling councils. You know how to act when it matters, she said. That is rarer than skill in politics. For a long moment, Marcus said nothing. He could feel the weight of every watching eye. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he realized this decision would not only affect him, it might affect Earth's place in the galaxy. Finally, he said, I need time to think. Serenia gave a single nod. Of course, I will remain on the station for 6 days. At the next planetary alignment, I must return to my homeworld. I will await your answer until then. She reached into the folds of her robe and withdrew a small pendant shaped like a silver teardrop. This will grant you access to my quarters and mark you as my guest. Use it if you wish to speak with me again before the alignment. Marcus accepted it carefully. The metal was warm, and faint light pulsed within it, as if it had a heartbeat. Serenia stepped back. Until then, Marcus Hale. She turned, her robe swirling like liquid silver, and walked back toward her ship. Her attendants followed, their faces calm, but their eyes flicking briefly toward Marcus, curious, maybe even respectful. The crowd stayed silent until the boarding ramp lifted and the ship's door sealed. Then the whispers began again, louder this time, filling the air with speculation. Marcus stood there, the pendant in his palm, trying to process what had just happened. He had come expecting a polite thank you. Instead, he had been offered something far greater and far more complicated. As the crowd began to disperse, Rhea appeared at his side, wide-eyed. Well, she said, I guess you're not going to have a boring week. Marcus shook his head slowly, still staring at the silver teardrop in his hand. No, he said quietly. I don't think I am. Marcus Hale did not sleep much that night. He sat at the small table in his cabin, the silver teardrop pendant lying in front of him. Its soft inner light pulsed slowly, like a tiny heartbeat. Every time Marcus looked at it, he remembered Serenia's calm voice. I wish for you to marry me. It didn't feel real. He was an engineer who fixed faulty doors and stubborn power cells. Now the high envoy of the Iviri, a leader of one of the galaxy's most private and respected civilizations, had asked him to be her husband. Why? He knew it wasn't romance, not in the human sense. She hardly knew him. There had to be more to it. The next morning, Marcus went to the maintenance bay for his shift. Rhea was waiting, leaning against the workbench with her arms folded. Well, she asked. Did you say yes? No, Marcus said. Not yet. Not yet? Rhea's eyes widened. You're thinking about it? I'm trying to understand it, Marcus said. It's not just marriage. There's something bigger going on. Rhea tapped her tablet and pulled up a set of cultural notes. You're right. I did some reading last night. The Iviri don't do casual anything. Every major act has tradition behind it. And marriage? That's not just about two people. It's about uniting entire groups, families, cities, even planets. Marcus frowned. So if I said yes? You wouldn't just be her husband, Rhea said. You'd be part of her political sphere. You'd have influence among the Iviri Council, and your decisions could affect Earth's relationship with them. Marcus leaned back in his chair. The idea of representing all of humanity in any way made his stomach tighten. That's a lot. And that's not all, Rhea continued. In their tradition, saving the life of a child, especially the heir, makes you part of their life bond circle. It's rare. Some Iviri wait their whole lives to find someone worthy of that bond. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. So refusing her proposal would be seen as rejecting that bond, Rhea finished. Not an insult exactly, but it would close a door that might never open again. Later that day, Marcus decided he couldn't just rely on second-hand research. He needed to talk to someone who understood Iviri customs from the inside, That someone turned out to be Thalen, an Iveri trade liaison who had lived on New Dawn for years. Thalen was taller than Marcus, with calm silver eyes and a voice like quiet water. He welcomed Marcus into his small office filled with carved crystal ornaments. "I heard of your meeting with Serenia," Thalen said, pouring a cup of pale, fragrant tea. "It is already the talk of my people." Marcus took the cup, holding it carefully. "I didn't mean to cause a stir." "Perhaps not," Thalen said, "but saving the air is no small thing, and the High Envoy's proposal, it is unusual, but not without reason." "That's what I'm trying to understand," Marcus said. "What does she really mean by marriage?" Thalen set his cup down. "Among my people, marriage is the joining of life paths. It merges the family's resources, rights, and obligations. In your case, it would give you the protection of the Iveri name, and in return, you would give her the connection to humanity she seeks." Marcus tilted his head. "She wants a connection to humans?" Thalen nodded. "The Iveri are private." "Yes, but they watch the galaxy closely. We know humans adapt quickly, survive where others fail. Serenia may see in you a chance to link our strengths to yours. A bridge." Marcus thought about that. "So it's politics and culture, but not romance?" "Romance can come," Thalen said with a faint smile. "But our unions are built first on respect and shared purpose." Marcus looked down at his tea. "And if I say no?" Thalen's smile faded. "Then Serenia will respect your choice. But some will see it as the breaking of a rare opportunity. Few in history have been offered what you have." That evening, Marcus took the pendant and decided to visit Serenia's quarters. The silver teardrop glowed brighter as he approached her guarded door. The Iveri sentry stepped aside without a word, and the door slid open. Inside, the room was unlike anything else on the station. The walls shimmered faintly, shifting in color, like sunlight underwater. A soft scent of something floral hung in the air. Serenia stood near a low table, her robe replaced by a simple flowing gown. "Marcus Hale," she said, smiling slightly. "I wondered if you would come." Marcus stepped inside. "I needed to understand what you meant." She gestured for him to sit. "Then ask." He took a breath. "If I say yes, what happens?" "You would join my life path," Serenia said. "You would have a seat at my council. You would be seen as family by my people. Your actions would carry weight beyond this station. And your world would be linked to mine by a bond of honor." Marcus studied her face. "And if I say no?" She met his gaze calmly. "Then I will thank you for saving my child and return to my homeworld with respect for you, but the chance for such a bond will be gone. The Iveri do not offer it twice." Silence hung between them for a moment. Marcus thought of Lear's silver eyes, curious and bright. He thought of the way Serenia had walked toward him at Dock 12, unafraid, and how the whole station had fallen silent. "This is a lot for someone who fixes broken panels," he said with a faint smile. Serenia's own smile deepened. "Sometimes the strongest bridges are built by those who never planned to build them." Marcus left her quarters with more answers than before, but also with the full weight of the decision on his shoulders. 6 days. That was all he had. The days after Marcus's meeting with Serenia passed slowly, yet every hour seemed full. Word of the High Envoy's proposal had spread across New Dawn Station like a spark through dry grass. Wherever Marcus went, there were whispers. Some people smiled at him as though proud. Others watched with guarded eyes as if unsure whether to trust him with such a responsibility. Marcus tried to keep to his normal routine, repairing doors, checking power cells, recalibrating panels, but even his work no longer felt ordinary. His mind kept returning to the silver teardrop pendant and the choice it represented. One afternoon, A message came through his cabin door's screen. Liar would like to see you. If you are willing, meet us in the observation garden. It was signed simply, Serenia. Marcus hesitated for only a moment before grabbing his jacket and heading toward the garden. The observation garden was one of the most peaceful places on New Dawn. Tall glass walls curved around a ring-shaped walkway, showing the vast sweep of stars and the soft blue curve of Tenera below. Inside, carefully grown plants from dozens of worlds filled the air with a mixture of scents, sweet, sharp, and earthy. Marcus found Lear sitting on a low bench, her silver eyes wide with excitement when she saw him. Serenia sat nearby, her hands folded neatly in her lap. "Marcus," Lear said, her voice bright as she ran toward him. She still spoke his name slowly, as if tasting each syllable. Marcus knelt to her level. "Hello, Lear. How are you?" She smiled and held out a small, crystal toy shaped like a bird. Its wings shimmered when she shook it. "Fly," she said proudly, and set it spinning in the air. The little bird hovered for a moment before landing gently in her hands again. Serenia's gaze softened as she watched them. "She speaks more. Standard now," she said. "She has been asking about you." Marcus smiled faintly. "I didn't think I'd make such an impression." "You saved her life," Serenia replied simply. "Among my people, such acts are remembered for generations." They walked together through the garden while Lear darted ahead to examine flowers and glowing fish in the water pools. Serenia explained more about her homeworld, crystal towers that reflected the light of two suns, seas so still they mirrored, the sky and council chambers carved deep into mountains of glassy stone. Marcus listened, trying to imagine himself there. "It sounds beautiful," he said, "but I'm not sure I'd fit in." "You would," Serenia said without hesitation. "Humans adapt. That is one of your strengths." Later, when Lear ran off to chase a floating seed pod, Serenia slowed her pace. "You have not yet decided," she said quietly. Marcus glanced at her. "No, I'm trying to see the full picture." "Then see this as well," Serenia said, her tone steady. "If you join your path to mine, you will not only gain a place among my people, you will give your people a lasting bond with the Dur Ivory." "That is no small thing," Marcus sighed. "And if I say no?" "The galaxy will go on," Serenia said calmly. "But it will be a path without that bond." Before Marcus could answer, a small group passed by. 3 alien delegates, in green and gold robes. They glanced sharply at him and then at Serenia. One of them muttered something Marcus didn't understand, but the tone was not friendly. Serenia's expression did not change, but when the group had gone, she said, "Not all welcome the idea of our union. Some fear it will shift the balance of alliances. Others simply distrust change. So it's not just a personal choice," Marcus said. "It's political. All choices are, when they involve more than ourselves," Serenia replied. The next day, Marcus was in the main market when he overheard 2 traders talking in low voices. "If the human accepts, the Iviri will favor his world," one said. "And if he refuses?" asked the other. "They will remember, and so will we." Marcus pretended to be focused on a display of tool parts, but the words stayed with him. Everywhere he went, it seemed his decision was being weighed by others, as much as by himself. That evening, Rhea found him in the maintenance bay. "You look like you've been carrying a cargo crate on your back," she said. "Feels like it," Marcus admitted. "Listen," Rhea said, leaning on the workbench. "Whatever you decide, it has to be for you. Not because of what people want. Not because of politics. You have to live with it. So ask yourself, do you want this? Not for Earth, not for the Iviri, for you." Marcus didn't answer right away. He thought of Serenia's steady gaze, of Lear's bright laugh, of the way the pendant's soft glow felt almost alive in his hand. And he thought of his quiet life before all this. Simple, safe, and predictable. 2 days before the planetary alignment, Serenia sent another message. The alignment approaches. When the sun and moons of my homeworld meet in the sky, the council will be in session. If you choose to join me, that will be the moment to declare it. Marcus placed the message beside the pendant on his table. The two seemed to glow together, one in light, the other in meaning. He realized then that his choice would change more than his own life. If he said yes, he would step into a role he never imagined, a link between worlds. If he said no, he would return to his tools and repairs. But the memory of the moment, and what could have been, would never leave him. That night, Marcus stood at the station's wide viewing window, watching Tenera spin slowly below. The stars seemed endless, but the path before him was narrowing toward one point, the day of the alignment, and when it came, he would have to be ready. The day of the planetary alignment arrived. From the wide viewing panels of New Dawn Station, the sight was breathtaking. The Iviri homeworld sun and twin moons lined up perfectly, casting a silvery glow across the stars. For the Iviri, this was a rare and sacred time when important life bonds and agreements were made. Marcus Hale stood in his cabin, the silver teardrop pendant resting in his palm. Its soft glow seemed brighter today, as if it knew a decision was close. He had thought about nothing else for days. Every walk through the station, every quiet moment in the maintenance bay, every glance at the stars had led him here. Saying yes would change everything. Saying no would let him keep his quiet life, but at the cost of closing a door that might never open again. At the central hall, preparations for the alignment ceremony were already underway. The large chamber had been transformed, shimmering. Banners of blue and silver hung from the high ceiling, and the floor was polished to a mirror shine. Representatives from dozens of worlds had gathered, their clothes reflecting the colors of their own cultures. Serenia stood near the center, her gown more radiant than Marcus had ever seen, threads of light woven into the fabric so it glowed softly with her movements. Lear stood beside her, holding a small crystal sphere and smiling shyly at the crowd. When Serenia saw Marcus enter, her expression did not change, but her eyes met his with quiet focus. She inclined her head slightly, as if asking without words, "Have you decided?" The ceremony began with the gentle sound of chimes. A senior Iviri counselor stepped forward and spoke in their melodic language, welcoming all who had gathered. Marcus didn't understand every word, but he caught enough to know this was about unity, trust, and the turning of paths. Then, the counselor's gaze turned toward him. "Marcus Hale," she said in careful standard, "you have been called here because of a choice. Today, as the alignment joins sun and moon, you may join your path with Serenia Talviri. Will you speak?" The chamber grew still. Marcus felt the weight of every eye, human, Iviri, and others, watching. He took a step forward. The pendant in his hand felt warm, almost alive. "I came to this station to fix machines," Marcus began. His voice was steady, but inside, his thoughts raced. "I never thought I would be standing here with a choice that could change more than just my life. Serenia asked me to join her path, not only as family, but as a bridge between her people and mine." He looked at Serenia, then at Lear, who was watching him with wide, hopeful eyes. "I've thought about what this means," Marcus continued, "and I've decided, yes, I will join my path with hers." A soft ripple of sound moved through the crowd, surprise from some, approval from others. Serenia's expression stayed calm, but her eyes shone with quiet satisfaction. The counselor nodded, then stepped forward and let the bond be marked. Marcus moved to stand beside Serenia. An attendant brought a small circular device, its surface glowing with intricate patterns. Serenia placed her hand on one side, and Marcus placed his on. The other. The device's light grew brighter, wrapping their hands in a gentle glow. The patterns shifted, forming a new design, a mark that would now be recorded in both Iviri and human archives as a life bond seal. When the light faded, the device released their hands. Serenia turned to face him fully. "From this day," she said, "our lives are joined. Your world is mine, and mine is yours." Lear stepped forward and without hesitation hugged Marcus tightly. "Family," she said, her voice soft but sure. After the ceremony, the hall filled with the sound of conversation and music. Some approached Marcus with congratulations. Others studied him with curiosity, as though still trying to understand how a quiet engineer had ended up in such a role. Rhea appeared at his side, grinning. "Well," she said, "you've done it. You're part of history now." Marcus gave a small smile. "Let's hope I don't break anything important." Rhea laughed. "You've already fixed something important, a bridge between two worlds." Later, Marcus found a quiet spot near one of the station's large viewing windows. Serenia joined him, her steps silent. They stood together, looking out at the alignment's silver light. "You spoke well today," she said. "I spoke honestly," Marcus replied. "I'm still not sure what the future looks like." "No one ever is," Serenia said softly. "But now, we will walk it together." Marcus thought about that. Only weeks ago, he had been a nameless worker fixing power cells. Now, he was part of an alliance that could shape the future of both humans and Iviri. All because he hadn't been able to walk past a child in danger. As the moon slowly drifted apart in the sky, Marcus felt a strange mix of calm and anticipation. Whatever came next, new worlds, new responsibilities, new challenges, he knew one thing for certain. This was just the beginning.